What's up, everyone? We're back with some more of the First Descendant. Now, we obviously have an update that's coming for the 5th, and I wanted to kind of talk about some things that you can do preemptively, obviously talking about some of the pain points with this update, and of course, some of the things that I actually am pretty excited for. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So it goes to say that update 1.2.6 is scheduled for February 5th, and the patch preview is as such. So essentially what we have coming is they're adding the Void Erosion Purge difficulty level 30. Now, for me personally, I think that this is going to be great because this gives us more things to do. And if you are at the point of clearing, say, stage 20 at this point, again, you should have that accessible to you. Now, if you aren't at stage 20, I would highly recommend, I'll probably have the video linked on this video. Make sure you guys check out my last video. If you have not farmed Inez, I definitely highly recommend doing so. She's great not only for farming the Void Purge, but also going and soloing Defiler. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do. I've seen a ton of different builds, people using Valby, people even using Bunny. Like, there's a ton of people that have completed this in different ways. But one of the main things that I would definitely say, and it's one of these comments, Reaper actually says, how are we supposed to get past level 20? The poison tracer attacks from the abominations are unavoidable and 100% insta kills. That's not 100% true. They are avoidable. They have very specific spawn spots. And it's just about learning that, right? Once you learn that and you're using, and I would say really honestly, just moving consistently, you should have no difficulty doing this. So definitely make sure you guys check that video out because it's really going to help you out immensely. All right. Now, on top of that, they're going to be adding a Void Erosion Purge leaderboard. Now, this is something we've been streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/ZoxysCon. A ton of you guys have been asking, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel like this is going to affect the game? And here's where I stand, right? I feel like one of the biggest things, and this is just kind of typically what happens when you have a lack of in-game content or content that I would say is for that super grindy, hardcore player base, you have to have something, right? Give them some reason to want to come back or to even being competitive to some degree. Yeah, I guess you technically can be competitive in PvE, and I guess in a way this is technically PvP, but nonetheless, I think that this is going to be good for driving engagement for those that are consistently putting in a ton of time and effort into the game. And I think that, of course, because it's going to be allocated to each individual character, they can take their favorite character, or you could take your favorite character and, you know, try to essentially climb the leaderboard with that character. Where the problem can be presented, which I've seen a few people mention, was, you know, essentially hackers, right? And I think that that's something that's unavoidable. It doesn't even matter if we had leaderboards or not. People have been hacking in this game, period. And there's been people that have been doing a ton of different things, right? So I think that one of the big things that the team is just going to have to stay on top of is, again, banning hackers. I think it's just that simple. But the other thing is too, is that we technically do have report buttons, if I'm not mistaken now. So there's something that we're going to have to take advantage of. Like, we see something, and I think a vast majority of the player base, one thing that I've noted that the player base seems to do really well is we can tell when something is astronomically off, right? And that's, of course, one of the things that I think that is just going to end up coming up. If anyone is cheating, there's going to be probably something astronomically off compared to everybody else's scores. And I think that that's going to be something worth mentioning. Now, we will obviously have to take the time to see what that specific scoring is going to look like, because nobody actually knows or has gotten to the point of hitting level 30. So what we're getting as far as the cores from that could definitely drastically shift DPS and a whole bunch of other factors that we could be seeing, you know, in the leaderboard tiering and scoring, right? But again, that's just something that I feel like the team is really just going to have to be on top of, because yeah, hacking gets out of hand. It can become extremely problematic and make it not fun to do that specific thing. But again, that might not even be your goal. You might not even care about leaderboards. You might just want the resources, and that's that, right? So again, it's kind of to each its own, but let me know what you guys think, how you feel with the leaderboards within the game. Now, of course, on top of that, they're adding a core crafting feature. Now, if I recall, this feature is supposed to allow us to be able to fuse up the cores that we already have accumulated. So that's going to be a little bit of a nice offset, especially if you are one of those individuals that have already farmed a ton of the current, max cap of floor 20. That's going to allow you to fuse some of those 6-7s into higher variations, which I think is going to be pretty cool. And then they're going to be adding the core tier 10. Core tier 10, I think for sure is going to be still one of those things that you'll probably see it drop, occasionally, but it's probably not going to drop all the time. I think that that's going to be to each run basically. But I will say there is one thing I did want to throw in as well that I felt like was really important and worth mentioning. If you are one of those individuals that have dumped a ton into your, like, say, unlocking cores, etc., I would say if you haven't really gotten into the process yet, it's okay to wait a little bit, because there are a couple of different things. Like if you haven't farmed like a ton of the core resources, once you do your first augment, it's actually going to it's going to actually require you to then use the core particle disruptor with it. So if we actually look at a gun that I just did, right? So I just did my piercing light, just so I can show you guys this. The first augment that you do basically is, I don't want to say it's free, but it's basically a augment that doesn't require the core particle disruptor, right? So if you're one of those individuals that's super big on min-maxing and wanting to, like, say, maybe aim for some of the higher ones off rip, I would definitely say that that could be something that you could wait for. I know I'm probably going to farm a little bit of the tower myself, just so I can accumulate some more to use the core crafting system, and see just kind of how that works. And I'll probably have a video coming for you guys for that. But just a little bit of, food for thought. You don't necessarily have to do this, but if you're one of those individuals like myself that's just kind of waiting just to kind of see, that is something that you could, essentially do, right? So now back to what we currently have as well. We're having the improved laboratory. We're having an increase of maximum module storage. And then on top of that, we're getting some other content improvements and fixing game issues. Now, I'm hoping that some of the issues that they fix, one of them being is Defiler with that weird bug. I know, I'm not sure if any of you guys have tried duoing Defiler, but there's like a bug, like if you and your teammate die at the same time, it doesn't allow you to utilize the last life and it just ends. And apparently it's been that way for the entire season. Not exactly sure why they haven't touched that yet. If any of you guys know, let me know. But hoping that they do fix that, because that is a pretty big thing that I just kind of noticed that not everybody is savvy enough or skilled enough to solo Defiler. So I know some people are probably trying to do duos, etc. So it would be nice if that was a little bit more operable. Now, the other thing is too, guys, is that when it comes down to, improved laboratory, the increasing of module storage capacity, things of that nature, these are just great QOL functionalities and just systems to have updated within the game. I think, again, for a lot of you guys that are watching that are trying to figure out whether or not you want to jump back into the game, I keep emphasizing that this is the perfect time to get into the game. And the reason that is just simply because this is the prep period before we come to a closing of the season. We only have really a little over a month, not really too much longer, before we get into season 3. And once we get into season 3, that's when we're going to see a massive amount of content. And we're hoping that with potential things like the collabs that they've mentioned, as well as the for those of you guys that have been keeping up with the ancestor that's supposed to be coming into the game, and then of course the new ultimates that are supposed to be coming into the game, I think that there's going to be a lot of different improvements, even down to units being enhanced. And I think also in season 3, one of the big things that I'm really looking forward to is seeing them implement the system that allows us to be able to carry over catalyst investment. So I know that those are some of the future things that we're preparing for. So I would say if I was to give any of you guys a checklist, even after this update, some things that you could focus on, obviously getting your account reacclimated, building Inez, I think is going to be a huge, huge boon to your account. Working on your guns, working on cores. I personally have been doing things currently like farming Defiler, because you can farm the core mats that you need from there, as well as the mats for building up or getting the skins from the shop. And these are exclusive skins too. So these are pretty cool things that you can aim for. That's going to, again, be things that at some point they could swap out, alternate out, and you might not actually be able to get those again. So I think that one of the things that they're really doing well is they're having us have different things that we can aim for, that if you don't participate and play now, you're not going to be able to get certain things later on. So I think that that's also another thing. If you want to make the most out of your time, at least playing every day, I think if you're able to clear, I think I've been clearing Defiler somewhere around a minute 20 like to a minute. I think it's like an hour and a half every day. I'm able to get about enough for about one skin, and that's what I've just been kind of doing personally. But it's also been really nice because I've been building up the core mats, which is going to allow me to core enable all of my guns after I'm able to get through that after doing that for a little bit. So again, the boss will be alternating out going into season 3 as well. So it's a lot of different things that I'm pretty interested in. But let me know how you guys feel with the things that are coming, especially with the Purge leaderboard. How are you guys feeling? Do you even care? I think that's another big point. Do you even care? But that's going to be that with this one, guys. I'll catch you guys hopefully on Twitch. I will be streaming today, so make sure you guys come through twitch.tv/ZoxysCon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.